Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports takes from around the country. Now, you're probably wondering, but why watch it over here and not over there? Because over there, they don't care about your thoughts, views, and opinions. They say this all the time. They don't read the comments, they just don't care. Here, I actually care. I read every single comment. I think we actually know what we're talking about. So if you think what I'm saying is awesome, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the dumbest thing ever, also let me know. Either way, let's get into some conversations, let's get into some fights, and ultimately, let's just have some fun. And so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps with visibility and it helps with the algorithm. I'm trying to build an awesome community here, and I think we're really well on our way to do it. This has been such an awesome experience so far, and I really want to be able to keep going. So if you can, please subscribe, please give it a thumbs up. Again, it's all free to you and it means everything to me. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're talking about, right now we're going to watch The Herd, and it's about Brock Purdy. Is he the MVP or is he not? And I think the answer is pretty obvious right now, but I would love to see in the comments below all the Purdy defenders after yesterday's game. I already saw a few people saying it was because of injuries, and I'm just like, I don't even know what to say to that, because that's absurd. Lamar Jackson is the MVP right now, and they're so injury riddled, and you're going to now say that Brock Purdy and the 49ers didn't play that well because of injuries? Come on, get out of here.
Breaking NFL news, potentially. There's stuff on Jim Harbaugh. I want to talk about Brock Purdy, who I've said is a good quarterback, but I don't think he is special. There's a reason he was the last guy taken in the draft, and though there are exceptions like Joe Montana taken later and Tom Brady taken way later and Mark Brunell and Tony Romo and Kurt Warner undrafted, by and large, the scouts get it right. Most of your star quarterbacks in league history are first-round guys. Most of your great edge rushers are first-round guys. Most of your great left tackles are first-round guys. Justin Jefferson, first-round guy. Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss, Jamar Chase. The scouts know what they're doing. Brock Purdy, last guy taken in a draft. But with the Niners, it's always kind of the same. We have a brilliant coach. We have an excellent roster. We have weapons everywhere, and you're left sort of asking, is Jimmy Garoppolo or Brock Purdy good enough? And by the way, this is a lot of Kyle Shanahan's career, is that you feel like Matt Ryan in Atlanta or Matt Schaub in Houston, Brian Hoyer in Cleveland, and Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo. You're left asking, is it the coach or is it the quarterback? And so far, it's always the coach. With bad. Any other coach offensively, you'd know immediately the limitations. With a Matt Schaub, we saw it. Or a Brian Hoyer, we've seen it. Or bad, Garoppolo now in Vegas, or Brock Purdy. But Kyle Shanahan's a lot like that flex tape commercial where they put that big, strong tape on a boat, and it works momentarily, but if you got too much flex tape on a boat, maybe you need another boat, and it's not about the tape. And that's my takeaway. Brock Purdy, when trailing in the second half this year, has a 65 passer rating, 2 touchdowns and 5 picks. Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, they win a lot, often convincingly. It's like just a perfect symphony. But what happens when things go sideways and you play a good defense and you're trailing?
And that's the thing. And that's why the criticisms of Brock Purdy make sense. You have a lot of defenders of Brock Purdy, probably a lot of 49ers fans, which I get. You know, you want him to be something that he may not be. You want to elevate him, because if he is who you think he is, then my Lord, are you guys going to be good for years to come. I think Brock Purdy is a legitimate good quarterback, but I think, like majority of the quarterbacks in the NFL, he needs a good team around him and a good offensive head coach, or just a good offensive coordinator in general, but it obviously helps if he's your head coach. So Brock Purdy is undeniably benefiting from the team around him and Kyle Shanahan. If you can't admit that, then your claim is that players don't matter and coaches don't matter, right? If Christian McCaffrey, if Debo, if Ayuk, if all of these players don't actually matter then to Brock Purdy's success and Kyle Shanahan, well, then you could do it with any coach and any player. Then, like, I don't know then what makes you good. Is it just like the soul of the 49ers franchise as a whole? That, like, you know, like it doesn't really make sense. So you have to admit that Brock Purdy is benefiting from, you know, an amazing head coach and amazing offensive weapons and a really good defense that's giving him the ball and, having them have the leads, which then really affect play calling and just gameplay in general. So you have to admit that. And this is for all teams, whether you're Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I mean, like, all that stuff matters. You need weapons and all this, but there's different degrees of this. Patrick Mahomes is obviously an overcomer. He can overcome teams that are not elite. I wouldn't say the Kansas City Chiefs last year, his offense was necessarily elite. He didn't have deadly weapons. I mean, could you imagine what Patrick Mahomes would do with like Christian McCaffrey or Samuel? I mean, like, we got glimpses of that when he had Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and obviously Andy Reid. It was like, oh my God, next level. But now you take away Tyreek Hill and you're like, okay, Patrick Mahomes can still win, but what's going on here? And then now you take away Tyreek Hill and have Travis Kelce injured and not necessarily like fully injured, but banged up and just getting older and no longer in his true prime. And it's like, well, how good is Patrick Mahomes right now? He's struggling. So you have to admit when your team is really good. They said this all about Jalen Hurts last season, right? He's a system QB, system QB, system QB. He has the best offensive line and all these weapons. Of course he's good. So now Brock Purdy is getting a lot of the same complaints. But the difference is that Jalen Hurts, at least last season, proved that he was an overcomer. That when he faced adversity, he was able to put the team on his back and, make moves. And he led his team to the Super Bowl. And then this year, things are not going well, but yet the Eagles are still competitive. They lost a lot of weapons. They lost their offensive coordinator, their defensive coordinator, and yet they're still competitive. Brock Purdy has not proven the ability to do that. And in fact, any of the adversity that Brock Purdy has faced, he's failed. I mean, that's kind of what these numbers are looking at when trailing in second half of the season. And again, I'm not a numbers guy, so I don't want to like pick these numbers too much because numbers lie all the time. But the truth is like, just do the eye test. I'm more of a fan of the eye test than numbers more than anything. You watch last night's game and you see Brock Purdy clearly struggling. All quarterbacks are allowed to struggle. All quarterbacks are allowed to have bad games. But the reality is that any adversity, please, if you know true moments of adversity that Brock Purdy has succeeded in the NFL, please let me know because I truly don't know them. So let me know in the comments below. I will check them out. I'll look them up and see what he did. I think, again, Brock Purdy is a good quarterback, and I think he'll continue to be able to play. But if you threw Brock Purdy on the Bills, would he be good? No. If you threw Brock Purdy on, the Ravens, would he be good? I don't think so. If you threw him on Kansas City, we can name all these teams. Would he be an MVP candidate? No. If he was with, on the Dolphins, maybe the Dolphins, because they obviously have some pretty good weapons and a great offensive coordinator. So the Dolphins would be the exception to that. So I think that's what you have to ask yourself. So really what makes your team special is Shanahan and McCaffrey. When you watch that game, clearly for the 49ers, the offense runs through McCaffrey. It was just get him the ball, get him the ball, get him the ball, get him the ball. It just clearly they look to him as the leader. And one of the best things that we saw yesterday was that Sam Darnold stepped in. Now, yes, Sam Darnold had an interception, but that was at the end of the game. That was when you're just kind of you just have to get it to the end zone and just hope for the best. But that first drive, Sam Darnold has not really played football. He steps up into this, obviously wasn't expecting to play. He jumps into the game and he looked really good that first drive. So to me, that kind of was like a little bit of proof to show that Brock Purdy is benefiting by everything around him. I truly believe that Sam Darnold would be able to succeed in that system. Do I think Brock Purdy is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold? Most likely. I think, unfortunately, Sam Darnold, we never really got to see him play with legit players around him, legit offensive coordinators, legit offensive head coach, right? He played for the Jets and the Panthers. Please tell me what those franchises are doing right now. Obviously not successful. So I think Sam Darnold would actually be successful with the 49ers. I think many quarterbacks would be successful with the 49ers. We saw Jimmy G succeed. We're seeing Brock Purdy succeed. So I think the big thing is this proves that the 49ers can clearly be got because all you do is have to kind of push back at them. You got to make them face adversity. You got to make Brock Purdy face adversity, come from behind, actually feel like, oh my God, we can lose this game, make him uncomfortable. When you make Brock Purdy just even slightly uncomfortable, he played terrible yesterday. And again, I don't like when people point out one game and say, see, look how bad someone is, or see, look how good someone is based off of one game, one performance. Like, I don't want to point to yesterday's game and say, see, I told you Brock Purdy can't play, because that's not really fair either. He actually hasn't had enough games of adversity necessarily where you could say, okay, is this who he is? But the games that we have seen do lead us to believe that so far.
Left with a lot of nothing. Matt Stafford with the Rams is elevating everybody around him on every drive. To me, it feels like Brock Purdy is elevated by everybody around him. Shanahan, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey. Flex tape works momentarily. But if you have to use flex tape on your boat, it's time to get a new boat. That tape can't be the answer, and I feel like Shanahan is that flex tape. He is the thing that makes everybody look way better than it is, and we would know instantly with any other coach, yeah, that guy doesn't work, or that guy doesn't work, or yeah, that's not going to work. But we have a history in this league with brilliant offensive coaches taking average, good, slightly below average backup quarterbacks and winning games, and often convincingly.
But it's not fair to call Brock Purdy a backup quarterback.
Gardner Minshew looked like he was going to win a division. Like, what are we doing here? We know that's not true. We know this is not an MVP talent. We know he's not the most talented person or the fourth on San Francisco's offense. And here was Brock Purdy after.
It's easy to, be riding the high and thinking you're the man when things are going well, winning games and all that kind of stuff, and you don't really see, a whole lot of adversity in some games and whatnot. And, this is the reality of the NFL. I have to look myself in the mirror and ask myself why or how that happened and why I made those decisions. And so our team came ready to play. And, for me to make some decisions like that, it pains me, and it's not fair to these guys. So I have to realize that and understand that, and I have to get better for my team.
Cleveland, really good defense. Baltimore, really good defense. You're trailing. There's drops. You need a guy to save you. Brock Purdy's not a guy that can save you. J-Mac with the news. No.
Yeah, I think, that really just kind of emphasizes, what I'm saying, right? You either need to be saved or you're a savior. You can either overcome adversity or you can't. I just want to emphasize, though, I don't think we should be burying Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy is a more than capable quarterback. I think he will continue to play in the NFL, but I think his success will continue to be attached to Kyle Shanahan and the weapons around him. And I think the thing about Brock Purdy, this is also only his second season. If Brock Purdy was the number 1 overall pick, or just the first round pick, right? And he was drafted last season, they would have said, oh my God, he's everything we thought he was going to be. What a great first round pick, yada, yada, yada. And then the second season, they would have said, wow, he's so great. He's having some sophomore slumps. He needs to improve in this way and that way, but, still pretty good. The 49ers can win. But the fact of the matter is that he was the last pick in the draft, and they see him now as playing above what he actually truly is, or some of his flaws are being hidden. That's where that extra kind of scrutiny and criticism comes by. It's like, well, is he actually really that good? He was drafted last for a reason. So I think, because look at, Colin absolutely loves Trevor Lawrence. He always lists Trevor Lawrence as one of the only QBs that you would not pick up the phone for, right? It's Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and then he says Trevor Lawrence, right? Everyone else you would technically pick up the phone, to maybe trade your QB. Trevor Lawrence has had disastrous games. Now, Trevor Lawrence had a tough start of his career, had the drama. He's not with a well-run franchise. He had the whole disaster with, their head coach for his rookie year, and now he actually has a competent coach with Doug Peterson. And he's also been dealing with some injuries. He has his own dramas and issues. But my greater point is that you're not selling your stock necessarily on Trevor Lawrence yet. So I don't know why you're so quick to sell your stock on Brock Purdy. And it's only because of draft order. It's because you see Trevor Lawrence as elite, but maybe not necessarily reaching his potential. So he's like, he still has that potential to go back up. But with Brock Purdy, you see him as down here, literally off screen. But with everything else, he's being inflated. So you're just waiting for this wobbly to come back down. And so that's where it's like, I think in a lot of ways we have to just get rid of, once someone's in the NFL, once someone's playing, get rid of the draft order, get rid of where they were drafted. Just don't think about that right now because it doesn't matter. It no longer matters. So just put that to a side. It's a hard thing to do though, because it's just imprinted in our mind. Trevor Lawrence, elite, number one pick. He's going to be even better. He just needs some things, tweaked out. Oh, this other player who's playing really good, but he was like the last pick in the draft. His balloons are going to eventually pop. He's just being propped up. And it's a hard thing to get past, but I think we have to try our best to do it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think? Is Brock Purdy actually a good quarterback? Is this just a bad game for him, a rough stretch? Do you think the 49ers are going to continue to be with him? I mean, what do you actually really think is going on with Brock Purdy? Is he a legit quarterback in this league? Or is he just on a really, really good team? Would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to like this video. It really helps with the algorithm, really helps with visibility. And please don't forget to subscribe. We're building a community here. It's awesome so far, and I would love to see you part of it. And it's all free to you, and it means everything to me. So thanks so much, and see you next time.